Toninho was a boy who spent his time playing games in his room and only ate fast food. Every day the kid would order some McDonald's and other stuff and have a party. Whenever his family asked him to do something at home, Toninho would say he was studying.
He said he couldn't, but he was actually playing games like Free Fire there.
He had gotten a pet fish last Christmas, but he didn't really care about the animal. His parents always fed the fish and cleaned the aquarium because their son was always busy. Toninho locked his bedroom door because he didn't want his parents inside, you know what I mean? So whenever they asked him if he had fed the fish, he would say yes. Actually, they would throw French fries to the fish and other times leftovers that fell from their snacks. The little fish started getting stranger and stranger with a purple color, and it became deformed. Until one day when he came back from school, the little fish was lifeless. Without a hint of remorse, he took the aquarium and dumped it in the toilet, flushed it, filled it with tap water, and put it back in his room again, right? To pretend that nothing had happened, he went on with his life until the next night while he was playing, he went to order some sviha. He felt a weird nausea. And to his surprise, man, he threw up the little fish, identical to the one he had killed. It fell straight into the aquarium, man. At that moment, his mom comes into the room and asks if everything is okay. He tries to pull himself together and says he's fine. After his mom leaves, Toninho looks at the fish. It's the same as the one that died. Not understanding anything, he goes back to his chair and asks for his snack. But again, he regurgitates another little fish. My God, now he's scared. 2 little fish swim in his aquarium, so he goes to the living room and stays there. He's afraid he might be cursed, so he ends up sleeping on the couch. The next day he wakes up and goes to have his breakfast. He throws up 2 fish onto the plate. His parents see that and panic. They rush to the doctor to find out what was going on with Toninho, but after some tests, nothing abnormal was found in their son. Toninho stayed like that for days and lost a lot of weight. He couldn't eat anymore. It seemed like all his vitality was being used to create a fish. Until one week Toninho was gone and his aquarium was filled with fish, swimming, happy and peaceful. Late at night, a boy is sleeping peacefully in his bed when out of nowhere he is awakened by a strange noise. He thinks it's a relative coming into the room, but when he focuses his eyes, he sees it's not, and again he hears the noise. But this time he realizes that it's coming from under his bed. He screams, calling his father, who quickly comes into the room to find out what was happening. Then he says that there's something under his bed and that he thinks it's a monster that came to get him. The father assumes it's the boy's imagination, but since the boy insists, he bends down to check. And he's shocked. He saw his son under the bed with a scared look on his face. The father is in shock and can't say anything. The boy under the bed says the following: Dad, I'm glad you're here. Is there something on top of my bed? The father looks up once again. So, Dad, what's down there? Did you find anything? He doesn't understand what's going on. He grabbed his son who was on the bed, locked the door, and went to the couple's bedroom. The boy slept between them, feeling safer. The father couldn't sleep well because he witnessed a disturbing scene, my friend. The next morning, when he opened his eyes, there was a red mist hovering over his room. He realizes that his son is no longer there. And when he gets up, he sees that he has a serious wound on his chest. His wife next to him, the same thing. Someone stabbed him brutally. He tries to wake his beloved, but without success. With great effort, he goes to the boy's room and unlocks it. He sees that the boy is sleeping under the bed and wakes him up. So, Dad, what was on top of the bed? The father is paralyzed. He doesn't know what to say, just thinking that he took the wrong son the night before and put him in his bed. Later, at the hospital, it is found that one of his kidneys was removed and parts of his wife's liver as well. An investigation was opened to find out what happened to that family, but that's all they found. There were only unanswered questions. There were no traces that led the authorities to a perpetrator. Something similar happened to another family in this same city. They reported that a woman and her mother had parts cut off and that the perpetrator looked like the 6-year-old daughter. To this day, no one knows how or when this thing will appear and steal parts of a person. Brumilda is a high school teacher who teaches English classes. She is known for being very strict with the students and giving severe punishments to those who don't do their homework. The punishments can vary from standing in the corner of the classroom wearing donkey ears to cleaning the school toilet with their own toothbrush. If you get a grade lower than 5 in the term, you will be forbidden from leaving the school for a week. You are placed in the library until you learn enough and pass her makeup test. In the year 1997, she was teaching the 3rd year of high school when something curious happened. Some students from the back of the class only got bad grades on her tests. That's because they spent the whole class goofing off and didn't study. They decided to get back at the teacher and teach her a lesson. They came up with the idea to put poison in a cake and give it to the teacher, hoping to get rid of the problem. At the beginning of class, one of these troublemakers gave it as a way to make up for his behavior in the classroom. She was surprised by the troublemaker's gesture and accepted the cake. If there was one thing she loved, it was cake, and they knew that. Later, in the teacher's lounge, she ate a piece. It was really tasty, so she had another one. Soon after, she started to feel strange, fell to the floor, and began to convulse. Foam started coming out of her mouth, and her eyes turned red like fire. School staff saw it and called an ambulance, which quickly took her to the hospital. Brumilda was between life and death, trying to hold on to the fragile thread of life that kept her in this world. After 2 weeks, she returns. But different. Her skin was whiter, and when she walked past people, whoever was nearby would start shivering from the cold. The criminals were stunned when they saw her. They knew things were about to get crazy for them, so they grabbed their backpacks and ran out of the room to escape. But suddenly the door closes. Where do you think you're going? Today we have a surprise test. You had 2 weeks to study while I was in a coma. The guys knew they were going to fail the test, so they just signed their names and turned it in, hoping to get out of there quickly. But she didn't let them, and they had to wait for everyone to finish. You've already given up on having a future. You plan to be lazy troublemakers with crazy minds who commit crimes just to get rid of people who bother you. I realized something. People like you only learn in one way. I will apply my new teaching method, which is called eternal learning. You will stay here forever watching all my classes, learning for years so that one day you can become better people. Huh? And so they all froze for a second and stayed in that classroom until today, watching teacher Brumilda's classes over and over again.